Every family has a story. Some stories are filled with love, laughter, and unforgettable memories. Others are marked by pain, betrayal, and wounds that take years to heal. And then there are stories like mine, stories where karma steps in and delivers justice in the most unexpected and satisfying way possible. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened to my family over the past 2 years. What matters is how one person's greed and cruelty tore apart 4 generations of people who once loved each other deeply. And what matters most is how, in the end, the universe found a way to balance the scales, without any of us lifting a finger. This is the story of my sister-in-law, the destruction she caused, and the accidental revenge that made me laugh out loud when I realized what had happened. But before I tell you about the betrayal, let me tell you about the family we once were. My husband, David, is from a close-knit family. He grew up in a modest home in the Midwest, surrounded by love, hard work, and traditional values. His mother, whom I'll call Eleanor, is now 84 years old. She's a small woman with silver hair, gentle eyes, and hands that have spent a lifetime caring for others. Eleanor raised 3 children: my husband David, his younger brother Michael, and their sister Patricia. Growing up, the 3 of them were inseparable. They played together in the backyard, shared secrets, fought over toys, and made up before bedtime. They were the kind of siblings who actually liked each other, not just tolerated one another because they had to. David often tells me stories about his childhood. He talks about summer barbecues where the whole neighborhood would gather. He describes Christmas mornings filled with excitement, homemade cookies, and the sound of wrapping paper being torn apart by eager little hands. He remembers his father teaching him how to ride a bike, how to fix a leaky faucet, and how to treat people with respect. His father passed away 15 years ago, and it was a devastating blow to the family. But they leaned on each other. They supported Eleanor through her grief. They showed up for every holiday, every birthday, every milestone. They were a family in the truest sense of the word. When I married David 22 years ago, I was welcomed into this family with open arms. Eleanor hugged me like I was her own daughter. Michael and his wife treated me like a sister. And Patricia, well, Patricia seemed friendly enough at the time. Looking back now, I wonder if the seeds of what was to come were already planted. Wonder if Patricia always harbored resentment beneath her smile. But at the time, I had no reason to suspect anything. I was just happy to be part of such a loving family. David and I have one son. His name is James, and he's 25 years old now. He's a kind, hardworking young man who makes us proud every single day. He's our only child, and we've poured all our love into raising him to be a good person. Michael, David's younger brother, has 3 children and 1 grandchild. His kids are wonderful people, generous, thoughtful, and always ready to help. They grew up spending holidays with our son James, building forts, playing video games, and creating memories that were supposed to last a lifetime. And then there's Patricia. Patricia has 4 adult children. 4 children have brought 3 grandchildren into the world so far. Add in spouses. And Patricia's branch of the family tree is extensive. She always took pride in that. She loved being the matriarch of a large, growing family. She loved the attention, the gatherings, the sense of importance that came with having so many people look up to her. For years, we all got along. We celebrated holidays together. We attended graduations, weddings, and baby showers. We supported each other through difficult times. We were a family. But 2 years ago, everything changed. I still don't know exactly what triggered it. None of us do. One day, Patricia was part of the family. The next day, she declared war. It started with small things. Patricia began making snide comments at family gatherings. She would roll her eyes when Eleanor spoke. She would whisper to her children during dinner, and they would all laugh while looking at the rest of us. It was uncomfortable, but we brushed it off. Every family has tension sometimes, right? But then the comments became sharper. Patricia started criticizing Eleanor openly. She accused her mother of playing favorites. She claimed that David and Michael had always been treated better than her. She said Eleanor had never truly loved her the way she loved her sons. Eleanor was heartbroken. She had spent her entire life loving all 3 of her children equally. She had sacrificed for them, supported them, and been there for every important moment. To hear her daughter accuse her of favoritism was like a knife to the heart. David and Michael tried to intervene. They sat down with Patricia and asked her what was wrong. They listened to her complaints. They tried to understand her perspective. But Patricia wasn't interested in reconciliation. She was interested in destruction. The accusations escalated. Patricia claimed that Eleanor had promised her a larger share of the family inheritance. She said their father had always intended for her to receive more because she had more children to support. She demanded that Eleanor rewrite her will to reflect what Patricia believed was fair. Eleanor was stunned. She had never made any such promises. Her husband had never expressed any intention of giving one child more than the others. The will had always been straightforward. Everything would be divided equally among the 3 children. Patricia didn't want equal. Patricia wanted more. When Eleanor refused to change her will, Patricia exploded. She screamed at her mother. She called her selfish, cruel, and heartless. She said things that no child should ever say to their parent. Things I won't repeat here, because they were too painful to hear and too painful to remember. And then Patricia did something that shocked us all. She cut off contact with Eleanor completely. She told her 4 adult children that they were no longer allowed to speak to their grandmother. She instructed them to block Eleanor's phone number, ignore her letters, would pretend she didn't exist. 84 years old, a sweet woman who had never done anything but love her family. And just like that, she was erased from the lives of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But Patricia wasn't finished. Once Patricia had severed ties with Eleanor, she turned her attention to the the rest of us. David was her next target. She sent him a long, vicious email accusing him of manipulating their mother. She claimed he had poisoned Eleanor against her. She said he had always been jealous of her and had spent years trying to undermine her relationship with their parents. David was devastated. He loved his sister. Despite all her flaws, he had always believed that family was family. He had hoped that whatever was bothering Patricia could be resolved with time and patience. But this email made it clear that Patricia had no interest in resolution. She wanted war. Michael received a similar email. Patricia accused him of being weak, of always following David's lead, of never standing up for her when they were children. She dredged up incidents from 30 and 40 years ago, twisting memories into weapons. And then she came for me. I had always tried to stay out of family conflicts. I believed in keeping the peace, in being diplomatic, in avoiding unnecessary drama. But Patricia made it clear that neutrality was not an option. She sent me a message that still makes my blood boil when I think about it. She called me an outsider. She said I had never been part of the family. Not really. She accused me of turning David against his own sister. She said I was greedy, manipulative, and fake. She ended the message with words I will never forget. "You're not blood. You never were, and you never will be." Those words were meant to hurt me, and I won't lie, they did. After 22 years of being part of this family, after 2 decades of loving these people with all my heart, I was being told that I didn't belong. But more than hurt, I felt angry. Angry for myself. Angry for David. Angry for Michael. And most of all, angry for Eleanor, the sweet, gentle woman who had done nothing wrong and was now paying the price for her daughter's cruelty. The next 2 years were brutal. Eleanor, at 84 years old, found herself suddenly cut off from a huge portion of her family. Her daughter wouldn't speak to her. Her grandchildren from Patricia's side wouldn't return her calls. Her great-grandchildren, babies she had held in her arms, children she had watched take their first steps, were strangers to her now. She didn't understand what she had done wrong. She replayed conversations in her mind, searching for the moment where everything had gone off track. She wondered if she had said something hurtful without realizing it. She questioned whether Patricia's accusations had any truth to them. David, Michael, and I did everything we could to support her. We visited more often. We called every day. We made sure she knew she was loved and that none of this was her fault. But we could see the toll it was taking on her. Eleanor had always been vibrant and full of life. Now she seemed smaller somehow, quieter. There was a sadness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. She would sometimes sit by the window, looking at old photo albums filled with pictures of Patricia as a child. She would trace her finger over Patricia's face and whisper, "Where did I lose you?" It broke my heart every single time. Meanwhile, Patricia was spreading poison wherever she could. She told extended family members that Eleanor was senile and couldn't be trusted. She claimed that David and Michael were taking advantage of their mother's old age to steal her money. She painted herself as the victim, the one child who had the courage to stand up against the manipulation. Some family members believed her. Cousins who had been close to us for years suddenly became distant. An uncle stopped calling. The family that had once gathered for every holiday was now fractured beyond recognition. 4 generations of relationships, decades of memories, all of it destroyed because one person couldn't accept the word equal. During this time, David and I spent countless hours trying to understand what had happened. We searched for explanations, for reasons, for anything that might make sense of Patricia's behavior. The most obvious explanation was money. Patricia had always been focused on material things. She liked expensive clothes, nice cars, and vacations to exotic destinations. Her children had grown up with a sense of entitlement that we had noticed but never commented on. Perhaps Patricia had been counting on a larger inheritance to fund her lifestyle. Perhaps she had made promises to her children based on money she expected to receive. Perhaps when she realized that the inheritance would be divided equally, she panicked and lashed out. There was another explanation that haunted us. An explanation that we didn't like to think about but couldn't ignore. About 5 years ago, Patricia had complained of severe headaches. She had gone to the doctor and undergone various tests, but nothing conclusive had been found. The headache eventually subsided and Patricia seemed fine. But what if the doctors had missed something? What if there was something wrong with Patricia's brain? A tumor, perhaps, that was affecting her behavior. What if the sister we had known and loved was still in there somewhere, trapped behind a wall of illness? It was a terrifying thought. In some ways, it was easier to believe that Patricia was simply greedy and cruel. At least then we could be angry at her. But if she was sick, if she wasn't in control of her actions, then the whole situation became even more tragic. We would never know for sure. Patricia refused to see any doctors. She refused to talk to us. She had made her choice, and she was determined to stick with it. We could do was pick up the pieces and try to move forward. Despite everything Patricia had done, Eleanor never stopped loving her daughter. She never said a bad word about her. At least not in front of us. She held on to hope that someday, somehow Patricia would come back. But Eleanor was also a practical woman. She knew she didn't have unlimited time left. She wanted to make sure her affairs were in order before anything happened to her. So she made a decision about the inheritance. Originally, Eleanor had planned to leave everything to her 3 children equally. After 2 years of Patricia's cruelty, she decided to do something different. She didn't want to wait until she was gone to share her wealth with her family. She wanted to see their faces. She wanted to experience the joy of giving while she was still alive to enjoy it. So Eleanor decided to give each family a lump sum now, while she was still here. But here's where it gets interesting. Eleanor didn't want to just divide the money by 3 and give equal amounts to David, Michael, and Patricia. She felt that approach was too simple, too impersonal. Instead, she wanted to recognize everyone in the family individually. She wanted each person to receive their own check, their own acknowledgement, their own share. So she counted up all the people in each family branch and divided the total amount accordingly. In our family, there are 3 people, David, myself, and our son James, 3 checks. In Michael's family, there are 6 people, Michael, his wife, their 3 children, 1 grandchild, 6 checks. And in Patricia's family, let me count Patricia herself, her spouse, 4 adult children, 3 grandchildren, and the spouses of the adult children who are married. When you add it all up, Patricia's branch of the family includes 11 people. 11 people sharing the same total amount that 3 people in our family would share. Do you see where this is going? Eleanor wrote out the checks herself. She sat at her kitchen table with her reading glasses perched on her nose, carefully filling in each name, each amount, each date. She placed each check in an envelope and wrote the recipient's name on the front in her elegant handwriting. When she was finished, she looked at the piles of envelopes with satisfaction. She had done something good. She had shared her blessings with the people she loved. She didn't realize, and neither did we at first, just how beautiful the math would turn out to be. Let me break it down for you. The total inheritance was divided based on the number of individuals in each family branch. Let's say, for the sake of simplicity, that the total amount was 60 hundreds thousand. The actual amount isn't important. What matters is the principle. Our family has 3 people. 600,000 divided by 3 family branches means each branch gets 200,000, and within our branch, 1,000 is divided among 3 people, David, me, and James. So each of us receives approximately 660. Michael's family has 6 people. Their 200,000 is divided among 6 people. Personally, 33, and Patricia's family has 11 people. Their 200,000 is divided among 11 people. Each person receives approximately 1,881. Do you understand what this means? David, James, and I each receive more than tiers times what Patricia and each member of her family receive. 3 times. Not because Eleanor was trying to punish Patricia, because anyone was seeking revenge. Simply because Patricia chose to have a large family, and the inheritance was divided per person rather than per family branch. The same Patricia who had demanded a larger share because she had more children to support ended up with a smaller share per person precisely because she had more children. The irony is so perfect it almost seems fictional, but I assure you it's completely real. When David and I first realized what had happened, we sat in stunned silence for a moment, then we looked at each other, and then we burst out laughing. We laughed until tears streamed down our faces. We laughed until our stomachs hurt. We laughed until we could barely breathe. It wasn't mean-spirited laughter, not entirely, anyway. It was the laughter of relief, the laughter of justice, the laughter of 2 people who had been hurt so deeply by someone's cruelty, finally seeing that cruelty backfire in the most spectacular way possible. I know it's petty. I know I should be the bigger person. I know I should rise above the desire for revenge and focus on healing and forgiveness. But I'm not that evolved. Not yet. Anyway, after 2 years of watching Eleanor cry herself to sleep, after 2 years of hearing David question whether he had failed as a brother, after 2 years of being told that I wasn't blood and didn't belong, I felt entitled to a little petty satisfaction. And oh, what satisfaction it was. I found myself imagining the moment Patricia would do the math herself. I pictured her sitting at her kitchen table looking at the checks for herself and her family members. I imagined her adding up the numbers, her brow furrowing as she realized something didn't seem right. I pictured her comparing the amounts. I saw her eyes widening as the truth dawned on her. I imagined her face turning red with anger as she realized that her brothers, the brothers she had accused of manipulation and greed, were receiving 3 times more per person than she was. And I laughed again. Maha indeed. Patricia had always been obsessed with the concept of blood family. Throughout her attacks on me, she repeatedly emphasized that I was an outsider. I wasn't born into this family. Therefore, in her eyes, I was less than her. "You're not blood," she had said. "You never were. And you never will be." Those words were meant to diminish me. They were meant to make me feel like I didn't deserve to be part of the family, like I didn't deserve any share of the inheritance, like I didn't deserve to be treated with respect. But here's the beautiful irony. Eleanor's distribution method, the outsider, the non-blood relative, the woman Patricia had dismissed and degraded, received more than 3 times what Patricia herself receives. Me, the interloper, the fake, the one who would never be blood, I'm getting 3 times as much as the woman who said those words. And it gets even better. Patricia's spouses, the husbands and wives of her adult children, are also receiving checks. These are people who, by Patricia's own logic, are not blood. They married into the family just like I did. They are outsiders by her definition, yet they're included in the distribution. They're counted as part of Patricia's family branch. And because there are so many of them, they're diluting Patricia's share even further. The very thing Patricia used as a weapon against me, the concept of blood versus non-blood, is now working against her. She had truly valued blood family. Above all else, she wouldn't have included spouses in her count. She would have kept the inheritance limited to biological relatives. But she didn't. She wanted to maximize her numbers, to make her branch of the family seem as large and important as possible. And now those numbers are her downfall. I couldn't have planned it better if I had tried. As the initial euphoria of this accidental revenge faded, I found myself thinking more deeply about justice and karma. I don't believe the universe has a conscious plan. I don't believe some cosmic force is keeping score and ensuring that bad people get punished while good people get rewarded. Life doesn't work that way. But I do believe that actions have consequences. I believe that the choices we make ripple outward, affecting not only others but eventually ourselves as well. Patricia chose greed. She chose to demand more than her fair share. She chose to attack her own mother, brothers, and her sister-in-law. She chose to cut off relationships, spread lies, and destroy a family that had loved her unconditionally. And in the end, her choices led to this moment. Her choices created the circumstances where she would receive less than she expected, less than she demanded, less than she believed she deserved. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't punishment. It was simply the natural consequence of her actions. Eleanor didn't design the distribution to hurt Patricia. She designed it to be fair, to recognize every individual in the family. She had no idea that the math would work out so perfectly in favor of the people Patricia had wronged. But it did, and I choose to see that as a form of justice. Not Dvarmic justice, not karmic justice, just the simple, beautiful justice of cause and effect. 2 years have passed since Patricia first went, as I like to say, feral on the family. 2 years of silence, separation, and heartbreak. Eleanor is still thus, thank goodness. She's 84 years old and slowing down, but she's still the same sweet woman she's always been. She still hopes that Patricia will come back someday. She still keeps photos of Patricia and her grandchildren on her mantle. David and Michael have grown closer than ever. They talk on the phone almost every day. They visit each other regularly. They've formed a bond that can only be forged through shared adversity. Our son James has stepped up as well. He calls his grandmother weekly. He sends her flowers on special occasions. He makes sure she knows how much she's loved. Michael's children and grandchild have also rallied around Eleanor. They visit her, help her around the house, and include her in their celebrations. They've become the grandchildren and great-grandchildren that Patricia's family was supposed to be. We've built a new kind of family. It's smaller than before. It's missing people who should be there. It's stronger in many ways. We've learned to appreciate each other more. We've learned never to take love for granted. As for Patricia, we don't hear from her. We don't know what she's doing or how she's feeling. We don't know if she's happy with her choices or if she regrets them. Part of me hopes she's found peace. Part of me hopes she wakes up every day with the crushing weight of regret on her shoulders. I told you I wasn't evolved. If there's one thing this experience has taught me, it's that family is both the most precious and the most fragile thing in the world. We spend our lives building relationships with the people we love. We share meals with them, celebrate milestones with them, and lean on them during hard times. We assume they'll always be there. But the bonds we've formed are unbreakable. But they're not unbreakable. They can be shattered in an instant by greed, jealousy, or misunderstanding. They can be destroyed by one person who decides that money is more important than love. I've also learned that you can't control other people's choices. You can only control your own. David and I could have responded to Patricia's attacks with attacks of our own. We could have fought fire with fire, spreading rumors, making accusations, and trying to turn people against her. But we didn't. Chose to focus on supporting Eleanor. We chose to maintain our dignity. We chose to let Patricia's behavior speak for itself. And in the end, we came out on top, not because we fought harder, because we refused to fight at all. I want to end this story with a confession. I know that being petty isn't admirable. I know that laughing at someone else's misfortune, even someone who has hurt you deeply, isn't the high road. I know that the truly enlightened response would be to feel compassion for Patricia, to hope for her healing, and to wish her well. And maybe someday I'll get there. But Today, I'm going to enjoy this moment. I'm going to savor the beautiful irony of a woman who demanded more ending up with less. I'm going to cherish the perfect justice of a distribution that rewarded the people she tried to destroy. I'm going to laugh every time I think about her doing the math and realizing what happened. Because after 2 years of pain, after 2 years of watching the people I love suffer because of one person's cruelty, I deserve this. We all do. So here's to accidental revenge. Here's to karma doing the math. Here's to the universe occasionally getting it right. And here's to being petty enough to laugh about it. Mohaha. Patricia, if you ever read this, I want you to know something. We never wanted revenge. We never wanted you to suffer. We only wanted our family back. But you made your choice. You chose money over love. You chose pride over reconciliation. You chose to burn every bridge rather than admit you might be wrong. And now you're living with the consequences. Your mother still loves you. Your brothers still miss you. Your nieces and nephews still wonder what happened to the aunt they used to know. The door is still open. Patricia, it will always be open. If you ever find the courage to walk through it, we'll be here. But until then, I'm going to enjoy my check. And I'm going to laugh every single time I think about yours.